Okay, so I've told y'all before that there was also a Civil Rights Act in the 1860s as well, but the 1964 Civil Rights Act was basically what took the American population, the American public, from a reality that said we are wholly, fully, 1,000% committed to segregation. Segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. That's what they used to say. That's what they still say. Whereby it didn't matter how qualified you were. It didn't matter what merit you had. Segregation was a policy that said America was going to be a country of white people, for white people, and only white people. And yes, there are these other people who are here, but they don't get to have any of the things that the white people get. Now, why? Well, because white people said so. Now, I think, and I was reading Feminista Jones, who we've had on the show before, an amazing sister who I've known for years. I think she's just absolutely dynamic. She posted something on Instagram today, and this isn't a direct quote, but she basically posted, what must it be like to be a conscientious white man, to realize that in order for you to make it on top, that Donald Trump and the Republicans basically have to rig everything. They have to make it such a soft, cushiony place for you that you, a white man, will be able to be at the top only because you won't compete against anybody else, only because you won't have to deal with the realities that come when you compete with everybody else. They're going to create a very safe sandbox for you, white men, because apparently white men aren't good enough to do anything that they say that is supposed to be their birthright unless they rig the game. What must it be like to be a white man who believes that you're superior, and yet all of the moves that your leaders make are moves that basically say you're so inferior that the only way you can be superior is if nobody else plays? Kind of like not letting black men be quarterbacks. Right? Were it not for Lamar Jackson, and I'm sorry, were it not for that pass. Y'all know I don't do sports, but I have Lamar Jackson fans in the household. Like, this is a thing that I know. There could have been we were this close to 4 black quarterbacks being in this stage of the NFL. And I know a lot of us ain't even watching the NFL, but a lot of us is. So let's just call it what it is. But whenever you keep black people out of things, for whatever reason you tell yourself, as soon as black people get into the thing, we dominate. And it's not like we ain't going around talking about we're superior. We're not going around talking about we're better. It's what happened. You kept us out of tennis. Get into tennis, dominate. Keep us out of swimming. Get into tennis, in swimming, dominate. Keep us out of corporate spaces. What do we do? Dominate. Keep us out of education. When we get in, what do we do? Dominate. Black women, the most educated people on the planet, or in the country. And what must it be like, said Feminista Jones, and this is my paraphrase, what must it be like to be a white man and to grow up thinking that you're superior and then realizing the only way that can actually be a thing is if you cheat? Because when you have to compete, there's no such thing as white superiority. When you're when you're not in a world that you artificially structured to center yourself, there is no such thing as superiority. Yesterday, we got wind of the fact that after this, actually, let me get back to this executive order. Let me get back to the executive order. So in 1964, there was basically the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 basically says you can't be racist in public. And you can't be racist in public because being racist in public is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. And it basically says that you cannot discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Provisions of the Civil Rights Act forbade discrimination on the basis of sex as well as race in hiring, promoting, and firing. This was the legislation that basically said you can have a hotel and you could be as racist of a hotel owner as you want to be, but you cannot deny black people access to the hotel simply because they're black. You can have a restaurant and you could be as racist as you want to be, but you're not allowed to block black people from getting access to your restaurant simply because they're black. And by black, I also mean Asian and Latino, and it's everybody else who's benefited off the strength of the Black American struggle for freedom and liberation in this country. And the Civil Rights Act was important because prior to that time, white drinking fountains and black drinking fountains were the thing. White bathrooms and black bathrooms were the thing. White schools and black schools, if you got a school in the black community, were the thing. Having Jim Crow was the cultural underpinning of the segregation legal structure under which this country operated basically from the end of Reconstruction, which you talked about yesterday or 2 days ago, up until 1964 and beyond. But once these laws got passed, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, followed by the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which prevents discrimination in elections, followed by the 1968 Fair Housing Act, which prevents discrimination in housing, taking care of redlining-ish, right? Because we know that there's a bunch of asterisks against all of those. But these three laws were the three pillars of legal jurisprudence and framework that took the country from wholly embracing segregation to one that said, no, now we're going to be integrated. We're no longer going to artificially say that white people are better just because white people said so. We're going to open it up. People are going to get to compete, and people are going to get to prove, and the most meritorious will win. America has never been about meritocracy. They couldn't even farm their own land that they stole, like from other people. It's never been about a meritocracy. But these are the lies that white Americans were allowed to tell themselves so that they could navigate this world in this artificial, almost like a virtual reality space where they said they were the best because they said they were the best. No proof, no merit, no nothing. And we know it's not true because every single time we get in, we blow you out the water.
Peace, everybody, and welcome back to the Black Only News and Entertainment Network. I told you, clowns, Angry Man, Anton, Daniels, Officer Tatum, Terry Time, The Crimson Cure, D.O.D, Mammy, take heed to the message. I told all you people that Trump was going to pull this BS off. When he was saying black jobs, Trump was saying black jobs was black people back in the fields. Now he's trying to take away the Civil Rights Act. Now he can't do it with a stroke of a pen. He can't do it by executive order. But what this does is he'll be able to get the Supreme Court to rule on it. And if the Supreme Court rules in Trump's favor, well, then all of those civil rights that were granted to us, housing, the right to vote, the right to just exist here, to live here, all that's going to be taken away. And it's going to be because coons like you voted for Master Trump. I did a video just before the election or just after the election that this was going to happen. That Trump saw black people replacing the Hispanics in the fields, picking their fruits and vegetables. I told you guys, this is what Trump was going to do. Or at least try to do it. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for coming back to the Black Only News and Entertainment Network. Peace, take care, and be safe.